All right, thank you, and welcome to Graylog 2024. My name is Chad Spears. I'm the Director of Security Operations with InfusionPoints, and very excited to be here again at Graylog Go to kind of show you exactly how InfusionPoints is leveraging Graylog. Last year when we were here at Graylog Go, we were displaying how our analysts have taken Graylog Go and built out our auditing dashboards for our FedRAMP environments. And this year, I'm excited to show you guys how we've added unto that and continue to build off the Graylog platform. Again, as 2023 approached a close last year, we really started looking at the audit dashboards that we had built within Graylog and really asking ourselves, hey, how can we take this to the next level? Had a lot of great feedback even after Graylog Go of last year from the dashboarding features, and even some of our customer sets said, hey, these dashboards continue to show time and time again how beneficial this is in our audits. And the auditors even gave us some glaring reviews of these audit dashboards and the fact that we could really take our FedRAMP customers through the audit in a seamless fashion and tell the story and have all of the evidence right there in front of the auditor to really make life so much easier for our customers and for the auditors themselves. And so as we started, taking all of this feedback and all the comments that were coming to us, we really sat down as an organization and said, all right, how can we then improve on this? And so one of the things that we started noticing here at InfusionPoints was, we have all this great dashboarding. We've got all these great customers that are coming on, and we're leveraging the Graylog product. And man, things are doing great. But how do we scale this? And so, what we started noticing is hey, we can have all these amazing alerts, all this amazing dashboarding built into Graylog, but then we have to start thinking about our analysts and the frontline analysts that are then monitoring this, that are then also operating this and really working within the customer environments. And so one of the things that we started thinking about was really the time management for the analyst and how we could then leverage Graylog to improve that. Right, we've already got the auditing down. We can get through the audit quickly with the auditor and leveraging our analysts. But now the day-to-day operations of Graylog, how do we improve that? How do we make it easier for our analysts? And I think it's no surprise that in today's time, the life of the tier one analyst looks a little different now in 2024. Typically you would have your tier one analysts that are accustomed to coming in. They're being assigned to maybe a certain customer set, and they're monitoring for alerts to come in. They're then, flagging the true positive, false positive, working the tickets, really diving into the tickets and ticket generation, and then starting to dive in. And then maybe at some point through the life of that alert, it gets escalated up to tier two. But at that point, tier one is kind of out of the picture, right? And so what we wanted to enable our analysts, we understand that, hey, we've got a lot of great analysts and a lot of individuals that, quite honestly, just operating at that tier one task is really not showcasing their expertise and their skill level very well. So we said, hey, how can we save time in the alert generation process, but then also allow our analysts to exercise and flex their muscles a little bit better? And so we started taking all the tier one activities that our analysts are doing and it said, all right, the goal is going to be to automate that and then augment even and enrich the data that the analysts have when these alerts fire off, so that they can then take what typically used to be maybe a tier one task and allow that to be automated, but then allow them to jump into the tier two task and really start getting their hands dirty and working within the environment. And so in that, we had a lot of great alerts that were already built, especially in our FedRAMP environments to meet all the different control families that were required. And we were then taking those alerts and we said, hey, we can simply take these alerts, and whether it be a webhook or some type of even email notification. We don't leverage email a whole lot within the systems. But what we have found beneficial is API calls into another system. And so within the FedRAMP environments, we'll have the alerts that would fire off, but we'll then shoot those over via an API call to a ticketing system that must live within the enclave there for the federal environments. And so we can have automatic ticket generation happen from a single alert within Graylog. And while that's great, I mean, that takes all the way one of the tasks that the tier ones would typically do, right? They would field the alert within the SIM itself and within Graylog, and then they would pivot over to the ticket system and fill out the ticket after they've determined, right, true positive, false positive. Well, what we found within Graylog is the fact that it's very easy to kind of tune out the true and false positive pieces there based off some of the thresholding there within the alerts. And so we then have those alerts fire off and automatically create that ticket. Hey, we just saved that much amount of time. Typically, when we were looking at that, it was anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and within the our 15-minute SLA time window that we're allowing and saving our analysts. And now they're then seeing those tickets automatically generated from the alert, and they can immediately start investigating and reviewing the log within the tool set, Graylog here, for instance, and determine, hey, is this a true positive or a false positive ticket? Let me start documenting it, and then work the ticket to close. And so as we started doing that, we even in itself started noticing, hey, how can we take this to another level? We see that the analysts are then taking information that's in the ticket because we were then shipping over certain fields and certain messages within the log itself into the ticketing system. And they would take certain fields and they would do threat intelligence on a few fields. And then they would kind of research a few other things and maybe determine, hey, what is this? What is that? And then they're documenting all this as they're doing that. So we said to ourselves, yes, hey, we can take threat intelligence, and we've got that built into Graylog. It's automatically doing threat intel for us. That's all great. But how can we enrich the data so that it's that much more beneficial for the analyst? How can we then, again, take away another task? And so, AI being all the rage and all the buzz, we said to ourselves, I bet we can implement some type of, artificial intelligence to take some of this data and then start telling us information about this. And we said to ourselves, hey, if we can get it to tell us information about whatever it may be, whether it's a particular IOC, or maybe it's even an actual alert or a CVE, for instance, within the environment that we're seeing, I bet it could also help us with remediation tasks. And so, hey, now we're going to take away even some of that research time that the analysts would have to do of digging in and figuring out exactly what this particular vulnerability may be, or whatever this alert may be. And we can automatically have remediations placed within the ticket so the analyst can then be sped up that much more. And so, again, this continued to snowball and build on itself. And we said, hey, around the round table, we said, we've got something here. We need to start building on this, and let's start, working within our guardrails that we have within our FedRAMP environments. And let's see if we can't develop something. And so that's really what started all this and kind of put all this into motion. At the end of the day, is reducing the tier one task and the tier one burden, reducing time to get tickets into the system, times for initial investigation, which then also, reduces time to resolve and close tickets, which is a benefit under the customers. But even in that, data enrichment within the system, leveraging automation and leveraging AI within Graylog is all possible due to the fact that Graylog allows us to call to outside systems and allows us to interact with outside systems. So we then started building this on a whiteboard and kind of bringing this to life, if you will. And we started pulling in some of our engineers. And even today, I've got Alex Erdhart here with us. He is one of our Graylog engineers here at InfusionPoints. And Alex is actually going to share screen for us. And we're going to dive in and take a little bit closer look as to what we're doing here at InfusionPoints and how we are leveraging this AI technology as these alerts come in. Now, it must be stated that you are viewing a sandbox environment here. But you're going to see a few different technologies that are involved in this process here at InfusionPoints. And we'll kind of discuss it as we go in. And so as everybody sees and knows and loves, we've got Graylog running here. We have data coming into the system here. And this is actually live data within the sandbox system. And this is deployed within AWS as well. And so as these logs are coming in, we've got a few different sources that we're pulling information from. So everybody knows and loves, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, all the different logging sources within AWS, Security Hub being another one we're going to see some data from. But then we also have our endpoint protection solutions. So we have Trend in this environment. We also have and we leverage CrowdStrike and a few other EDR solutions that are out there. We can pull all that data in to Graylog and have a single pane of glass to then manipulate the data, but then also view the data as well. And so when we started pulling all this in and looking at this within Graylog, we said to ourselves, all right, let's first look at the alerts and how we've built the alerts out. And so, Alex and team and Jeremy Powers and Roland here at InfusionPoints started really diving into this, and they said to themselves, all right, we've got some alerts that are already pre-built that we have built for our FedRAMP environments because we know what must be alerted on, what must be notified on. And so they started digging through those event definitions and those alerts and determining, okay, hey, out of these, which of these could we, number one, automate, but then add data enrichment to assist the analyst? And so, in our proof of concept, we really had three pieces of data that we said to ourselves, hey, we are going to leverage this, to really kind of bring this to life and ensure that this is something that we can do. And so with those, number one, we're going to be seeing here in just a little bit the Security Hub alerts. But then number two, you're going to be seeing some CVE findings, that is from the Security Hub alerts. But then you're also going to be seeing MITRE attack framework, so alerts that would come from the EDR solution. They already got MITRE TTPs already there, so how can we leverage that to showcase that information? And so when we started looking at these, we said, hey, we're going to start taking this data, this alert set that we've already got it built out, and we're going to automatically generate the ticket, but then we're going to start passing it over to another model to then allow us to bring some AI information in. And so, when we start talking about AI, as I mentioned, we're already deployed within AWS here. We said, hey, let's try to leverage Bedrock within AWS. And so, Alex, if you don't care, let's pivot over to Bedrock here. And so once we jumped into Bedrock, we knew, hey, we got to create a few knowledge bases here. We've got to create some sample data. We're going to have to train the language here in order to leverage this. So let's start doing that. And so again, as I mentioned, we have the MITRE attack. We then have the CVE there, and we also have a guard duty alert there within this environment. And so let's jump into the CVE, for instance, and let's just take a look a little bit as to how this was built within AWS Bedrock in itself. And so if you're familiar with Bedrock, it's fairly easy to come in here and deploy a knowledge base and then point it to the actual data that you guys are going to be training it with. And so we said, hey, we're going to point this to a sample data set. And within the FedRAMP environment, one of the data sets is known exploitable vulnerability data sets. And so we're able to pull that down from CISA and add that information into our language model here and allow it to learn that information. And that's really powerful and really beneficial for us. And so then we also took, from the MITRE perspective, Alex, if you want to pivot back off to the MITRE knowledge base, we said, hey, what data set can we then add to the MITRE to provide information? We actually just went out to MITRE's site. They have a great Git out there and pulled down the entire MITRE database and the MITRE attack framework. We was able to then provide that into the S3 bucket there as well. And so providing this data into the data sets there, the team then said, okay, we've got data out there. How do we now invoke the data? How do we work with this? How do we get this thing to kind of act in the way that we want it to? And so we started invoking some agents here within AWS. And so, with these agents, really what we're doing is we're building a personality, right? And so with the agents here, you'll see, and Alex is actually bringing up the MITRE one here. And if you take a closer look at the agent here, you're going to tell the agent how you want it to think and how you want it to act. And so, if you read into there, we're actually telling it, hey, you are a cybersecurity analyst. We want you to answer in this manner. We're going to be providing you this type of information. We want you to kind of, give us back this information. And so we're really seeing the more we tweak the agents, the more information we provided on how we want the agents to act, the better the data we got back was. And so as we continued to build out the agents, we then started looking at different language models that we were leveraging, and we tweaked and played around with the different language models that are available to us within AWS, and we finally decided upon one. And so now it comes into the test case here and how we're going to leverage this and how we were going to really deploy this within the environment. And really start manipulating that data. And so it's great that we can take alerts out of Graylog and then ship them over to Bedrock, and then Bedrock would provide us an answer. But the problem that we continue to find, and yeah, we could turn right around and probably throw that back to a Mongo database even within Graylog, so that data is right there in Graylog as well. We've done that with other areas within Graylog. But the problem is at the end of the day, all of this has to end up in a ticketing system. And so we have other ticketing systems that we have leveraged in the past for our FedRAMP environments. But InfusionPoints has continued to see this evolution within the FedRAMP environments of the need of a ticketing system that is designed and developed for just the FedRAMP environments. But not only that, designed and developed, but also with the ability to interact and build off the current tools that we have within the environment. We've got Graylog. We love Graylog, and in the fact that there's so much engineering that can go on behind the scenes as far as integrations, alerts. We can get so granular with the data and the reports out of Graylog. But we need somewhere now to kind of bring it all together from a ticketing perspective, even from there's other aspects of this as well. Common, which is our monthly vulnerability scans that have to happen within the environments. And so what was developed and what was designed out of that is what you're actually seeing now. It's known as Command Center here in InfusionPoints. And so Command Center is actually a direct link with Graylog and some of our other solutions and systems within the environment. There's a lot of things that are built on the back end of Command Center. This is all serverless as well. It's important to say. But this is also the ticketing system here for our FedRAMP customers within our XccelerATOr environments or our FedRAMP environments. And so at the end of the day, we said, hey, we're going to be taking data from Graylog alerts. We're going to be passing it through Bedrock, and we need it to land in the ticket so that the analyst can then immediately reduce the time that it takes for them to interact with this ticket and start working the ticket. And so within Command Center here, what you're seeing over on the left side is some of the tickets that come in. Over on the right, it gives you that visual view of tickets here. And again, you're viewing a demo environment here, but there are actually some live tickets in here. And so you're noticing there on the left, there are some tickets there, and we're going to dive into those in just a second. But I'm actually going to have Alex pivot back over to Graylog for us. And Alex, let's just do a simple query within the search there to bring up maybe one of these fields that would have alerted for us. And so you can pick either the CVE, MITRE, or whatever it is you may want to. And so you're going to notice that Alex isn't going to drive here. And he's going to query out, looks like he's going to query out anything where MITRE exists. And so I mentioned earlier that we have EDR products that are bringing information in. And so one of the EDR products that we're leveraging, you can see that log set's coming in. It actually is providing us back a MITRE field. And as you're seeing right there, the TTP field is already there. So hey, it's great that TTP field is already there, but a lot of times what we're finding is the analyst would have to take that TTP and then go to the MITRE attack framework outside of the environment. And hey, let's start doing some investigation. What is that TTP? All right, what's next known steps from that TTP? What threat groups are leveraging that TTP? What is remediation for that TTP? You can see all the different steps that would possibly then take some manual intervention to allow the analyst to kind of really get their head around what's going on and determining, hey, what's my next steps within this. And so as we started viewing that, we said, hey, let's definitely go in that direction. As I've already mentioned, we started training the model with the MITRE attack framework because all of that information is contained in there. And so we took the MITRE TTP there, and then we simply passed it off. And if you'll notice, Alex, if you don't care to pivot back to Command Center for me here, once we pass that off to Command Center, if we had a TTP that would fire off, it would automatically create that ticket as you're viewing on that line item there. And you'll notice that Alex just simply hovered over what looks to be an icon there. And this is what we've actually branded here at InfusionPoints as Alto. And so this is our AI model within Command Center here at InfusionPoints. And Alex is essentially asking Alto, if you will, hey, this ticket, give me some information about it. Give me some TTPs, right? And so with Alex just simply hovering over there, that MITRE attack TTP, you are viewing all information that is generated from AI right there on that TTP. And so it'll give you the breakdown of actually what that TTP family is, a little bit about that TTP family, but then also, hey, here's some remediations. Here's sub TTPs that may be relevant to that TTP as well, but then also remediations based off of that that technique or a tactic there. And so again, very quickly, the analyst can come in here and review this ticket as it gets generated, and all of that legwork that they were then doing manually is right here for the analyst front and center, and all they have to do is just hover over a simple little icon. And so again, at the end of the day, what we're seeing here is data enrichment and Graylog's unique ability to allow us to enrich data that's already provided to us, but doing it in a seamless fashion. And so, hey, we said, yeah, MITRE, that's great. But we have a ton of vulnerability scans that happen every month within every environment. And, at the end of the day, when CVEs are found within the environment, we need to know what to do with them. And so, Alex, do you care to pivot back over to Graylog, and let's do a search on one of the CVEs? I'd like to see that show that CVE field that we pull in. And so within our AWS environments, we leverage a few different things. So inspector scans out of AWS will scan for CVEs. There's also other elements that will scan and find CVEs for us. So as Alex is pulling this up here, we're looking for CVE data, and you'll see how we're able to pull that out of the log in itself, but then also alert off that as well. And so Alex is actually showing you one of the queries right there, and he's leveraging the query to pull that up. And so you'll notice the query is a little bit longer up top there, but here is that CVE data. We've got one in particular in this demo environment here. And you can see the long log there, and then the fact that the guys have went in and parsed all that information out there for us. We can scroll down through there, and we'll notice that the CVE field is in there. But then, and again, you're seeing that long log field there. It's really cumbersome to read through, but being able to take out the actual CVE and then parse it and alert and send that over to Bedrock, let's then show the difference from what the analyst may have to view. So Alex is highlighting there that CVE there and what it actually is within the environment. But now let's pivot back over to Command Center and show you exactly what our analysts are viewing. So again, as this comes in, hey, CVE come in, but here's what's important within the FedRAMP environments. Is this a known exploitable vulnerability, right? Within certain CVEs, as they're scanned within the FedRAMP environments, you have time periods that you're able to resolve those CVEs from the first notice of them within the environment. It may be a 30, a 60, or 90 days based off severity, right? But a known exploitable vulnerability is something that needs to be closed up immediately. And even from a security perspective, if our analysts see known exploitable vulnerabilities within the KEV database, we're immediately contacting the appropriate SRE teams and saying, hey, we need to get this vulnerability on this system taken care of immediately. But as that comes in, we're now leveraging AI to say, hey, automatically search the known vulnerability or known exploitable vulnerability database, give me information off of it, and tell me, hey, is this known exploitable or is this not known exploitable? And if it is, what is the patching for that? So you'll see here, as that alert came in, it triggered. He can simply ask Alto here, and it'll tell us right there that the CVE is a known exploitable CVE, gives you the CVE title. And it is not known to be exploited. So it's actually not a known exploitable vulnerability, but it does tell us the CVE. Now, should this be one that actually was exploitable, it would tell us that, hey, this is a known exploitable vulnerability, and then pulled back even more information based off of that. So again, reducing time, saving time for our analysts, allowing our analysts to then even leverage Graylog in a completely different manner by going in and threat hunting had this been a known exploitable vulnerability. Well, they're going to pivot and start threat hunting based off of that IOC, because that then becomes an IOC for them. So again, we have other log sources that were coming into the environment, and how do we continue to leverage that and build off of that? So the next thing in our POC that we determined was guard duty. So we have a lot of guard duty deployment within the AWS environment and for the FedRAMP environments. And we said to ourselves, hey, how can we take these guard duty alerts as they're coming in? We know they need to be investigated. They need to be gone through, and whether it be a threat hunting scenario or whether it be some investigation that has to happen very quickly within these AWS environments to get these things buttoned up. How can we leverage that data coming in and take action immediately on there? And so I'm going to actually have Alex, he's pivoting back out to Graylog perfectly for me here. So again, this being a demo environment here, he's going to pivot off and kind of search for one of those guard duty alerts if you can, Alex. And we're going to show the guard duty alert and the fact how it would come into the environment. And then once we receive that within the environment, how we're passing that out through AWS Bedrock, the actual query of the language model within Bedrock itself, and then the data that it's bringing back. And the data that it's bringing back, I'm pretty excited about this one because at the end of the day, remediation is key for us, right? How can we quickly remediate these alerts as they come in? And are we able to kind of immediately take action there? And so as we're searching through these, we may not necessarily have an alert there. I know that, again, this is being a demo environment. We can pivot off to the actual command center itself, Alex. I know we've got ones in there. All right, yeah. So as a matter of fact, Alex is already asking Alto, but I'm going to actually ask him to pull back off of Alto there. So you'll notice here at the top of the command center over on the left-hand side, this is actually a high alert that came in. And it's because it's a high alert that came in from guard duty. So it is a known security issue within the environment. And AWS within guard duty itself has already flagged on it and said, hey, this is something that needs to be taken care of. That data came into Graylog. And, in the past, we would take that data as it came into Graylog and said, hey, thank you, Graylog, for alerting on this and telling us this. We'll now go create this ticket and work this to close. Again, automation out of Graylog, being able to integrate with outside solutions, AWS in particular here, make those API calls even out to our command center and automatically create that ticket. We've saved our analysts time. Now the analyst, hey, we see we got a high alert. We need to work this. So in the past, they would just view the alert there in itself, and they have to do then all the research. But now we'll just simply ask Alto. And so as Alex goes up and asks Alto, you'll notice here that this guard duty alert here, we see a playbook for guard duty alerts. It's an EC2 port scan that's happening. It then tells us all about an EC2 port scan, exactly kind of what we're seeing. You'll even notice the way in the question is being phrased to the language model within AI here. We're taking the actual raw log itself and we're pumping that in and we're saying, hey, enrich this data, tell us more about it, but also tell us how to remediate it. So it's telling us here, hey, this is a port scan to the environment. It's actually got the IP address of the host that's being scanned there. And then what's probably the most beneficial piece is not only the fact that it tells us what's going on with the environment, what's alerting, why we're seeing this, things of that nature, but it's then the remediation pieces. So it then goes through and it starts providing remediation steps for this. And what I love about the remediation steps is it doesn't just say, hey, you might want to go create a security group to block this. No, it actually goes step by step in detail. So if we were to have customers that were then managing this on their own, and maybe they don't necessarily, maybe they have their own IT staff, but they're not necessarily security experts. Hey, they've got enough expertise about them to follow some steps in an environment. But maybe, hey, building security groups and blocking things within, a WAF within AWS or from a cloud perspective, it's just not something that they're used to doing on a day-to-day basis. We're providing step-by-step on how to actually go in, create the security group, even the name to name the security group. It goes in depth to there. And it simply tells you, hey, click this, go here. Click that, click OK, name it this, add this IP address, block, so forth, so on. So it tells you in a step-by-step, stepwise fashion how to close out and remediate this here alert and this vulnerability within the environment. That data in itself right there probably saved what would have taken an analyst, I would dare to say, even 30 minutes from the time the alert comes in, the investigation of true positive, false positive, then investigating the system and then investigating, all right, where'd the alert come from? Let me get with the customer, all this, that, and the other. Now let me get to the steps of creating the security group. Hey, security groups are generally within our environments created via Terraform code, but I've got to create this one manually. How do I need to do that? And they could then stepwise step themselves through that very, very easily. So again, our key this year, when we started looking at Graylog and how we're enriching the data, but not only enriching the data, I want us to think of how we're making our analysts' lives better. We said to ourselves, we've got to take the tier 1 task and we have to elevate them all to essentially tier 2. All of our analysts here at InfusionPoints operate at a tier 2 level. It's a requirement here at InfusionPoints because at the end of the day, we're seeing those tasks of the tier 1 analyst, be a thing of the past. Because at the end of the day, automation, I know everybody see and hear SOAR. We see and hear SOAR for many, many years, but we rarely see a lot of organizations that implement it well. But now really implementing that automation and response piece. But even, again, within these FedRAMP environments, there are still things that have to be looked at. And once these alerts fire off, allow our analysts to get in and do what they do best, and that is leveraging the Graylog system and threat hunting within the Graylog system and determining, hey, yes, this is an issue. We need to close it out. And one of the things that I love the most about this is the fact that as they are in digging within the Graylog system, they're finding more and more unique ways to leverage Graylog and pivot off of certain fields and create even better dashboarding and create even better alerts and tuning the system to operate and function more seamless and smoother within the environments. So again, kind of bringing this all to a close, I'll kind of close out with a funny as we're building this. One of the things that happened here. So again, as we're building this and leveraging this within a demo environment here, we said, hey, we got to have some data. Got to have data in here. We got to have alerts in here so that we can test this. We're kicking the tires on this thing. And so as we're doing this, we said, well, hey, let's deploy a system that's got a bunch of vulnerabilities to it, and let's put that into the environment. And that's all well and good until that system deploys in the late afternoon, and you have it running, and you don't necessarily remember it. And then in the middle of the night, a inspector scan kicks off, and it finds all of those thousands of vulnerabilities. So within this system here, when we got an analyst calling us in the middle of the night, waking us up, saying, "Hey, we got 1,000 alerts coming into this demo environment, and it almost seems like it's kind of running away," and it's because all 1,100 alerts, I believe, came in within a matter of seconds. But the great thing about Graylog is Graylog took all that data in very, very quickly, and then it pumped it right back out to all of our integrations very, very quickly as well. And again, what started happening was we seen essentially against our Bedrock environment almost a little bit of a DDoS. It appeared, right? Because it spiked all the requests into the AI model. But not only did it spike it into the AI model, well, guess what? We got 1,100 tickets that were created as well. All data enriched, I should say, though. And so all the CVEs that came in, it let us know, hey, they are known exploitable or they're not known exploitable. And so at the end of the day, that was our proof of concept. Hey, this works. Now, if we would imagine an analyst, going back through and actually viewing, hey, here's 1,100 tickets that came in at once. I would hate to know what environment that would actually be in a production scenario, but 1,100 tickets coming in at once, having a tier 1 analyst have to field every one of those and true positive, false positive, close it, document it. The amount of time that would take is insurmountable. And at the end of the day, that all happened in a matter of minutes, even seconds here on the back end within our proof of concept. So again, it's a testament to Graylog and the fact of how it is able to handle the data, but then also Graylog as well as how we are able to integrate outside of Graylog to other solutions. And at the end of the day, we're just super excited about the partnership here with Graylog and our relationship that we have with the Graylog team. We love continuing to see how they're developing the products to be more and more, not only user-friendly, but more and more, just data enriched as well. Even some of the security feature sets that's come down as of recent. We just love the trajectory that Graylog is on and the direction that the product is going. And so with that, I'm actually going to yield my time and just let me state one more time, it's a pleasure and an honor to be back here at Graylog Go 2024, and we're excited to see what the future holds. Thank you, guys.